Good evening, all. We, on behalf of the SRC Alumni Association and the Department of Electronics and Instrumentation Engineering, welcome you for the 70th webinar talk, Working for the Startup Ecosystem. We welcome our Principal Ma'am, Speaker of the Sharmila, faculty members, current students, and all alumni friends. Ms. Sharmila, after her engineering, joined Odisha Technologies Bangalore as a senior test analyst and worked till July 2019. Then she worked for a year and a half at NovoPay Solutions Bangalore as a quality engineer. Currently, she is working at Tekino Corporation Bangalore as a software quality analyst. She has recently completed her one-year exclusive general management program at IIM Trichy. She was a gold medalist during her college days. Over to you, ma'am.
So I graduated from E&I department in the year 2016. I also did my post-graduation certification from IIM Trichy, and I'm currently working as a lead QA in Tekyon Bangalore. I would like to share my knowledge that I acquired while I worked for some startups. So here is our topic, working for the startup ecosystem. The agenda for the day is, I'll explain you how has my journey been so far and why one should or should not work for startups, and what are the startup survival guide and the startup mindsets. Following which I'll share a video about women in tech and the ratio and startups for the fresh graduates. Talking about my journey, I worked in 3 different places. Initially, I started in functional testing, and I had the privilege of training juniors. Along my job role, I also did product documentation for the internal products that the company shipped to clients. So this is apart from my role, and I did it out of my self-interest, which got me good accreditation in the company. In my second stint, I acquired coding knowledge, and I explored automation testing of the website backend APIs. I continued training my juniors there as well. In my current stint, it's kind of wide. I have tried both backend and front end automation testing. I also do project management here, and I take tech interviews every week. Let's see why one should and should not work for startups. The first thing would be why one should not and when one should not work for startups. See, startups in general are a group of friends, someone with a little idea. They have an idea in their mind. They want to scale the idea because data is the new oil. If someone else acquires the idea, someone else gets it, the project is going to be theirs further. So they'll start small with no bigger idea, no bigger knowledge on the system. It's all fail fast. They do something, they make mistakes, they acquire knowledge from that, and they iterate the same process. So everyone who work there, mostly first time managers. They are either engineering graduates or they are not graduates at all. They are someone who are definitely not into management degree mostly. So management of any startup would definitely suck. Most of them are first time managers. If for juniors, if they want mentorship, if they want knowledge transfer, KTs, directions, that is definitely going to be missing. Unless you force people, unless you ask people to give it to you, nobody is going to give it to you. Talking about work life balance, it's terrible, it's pathetic. Even for me, I work about 14 to 16 hours every day, all day. I've been working like that. Yes, even on Saturday Sundays we might have to work. That's how it has been, and it is continuing. Startups are born with a small idea. They iterate the idea. They find, okay, what are the next ideas that we could acquire, what are the next things that we could do. They expand step by step, so they will definitely not have a long term plan. uh, in most cases, many startups don't even have money for functioning for the next 5 years in hand. They either depend on angel investors or funding companies who believe in the idea and give them money to take it forward. So stability is a big no in startups. While we see the negative side of it, the positive side comes here. You get access to the jobs that you're completely unqualified for. If they trust in you, you're getting there. You're getting the role, you're getting to do things, you're getting to experiment yourself, you're getting to fail, you're getting to improve, you're getting to learn. So you get the access to the keys for things that you don't deserve at all. You get to develop your skills from the job. In most cases, people don't trust startups and they don't join them. Only very few do. So only when very few people are joining them and trusting them, the very few will get to own things and bring in great impact. See, when the concentration of people is small, the impact that the people could bring will be more. You're the average of your five closest friends. So in startups, you will see people with your own mindset. They will have the same goal as you. They want to scale up things. If having a startup on your own along your career is one thing that you want to do, then you should definitely work for a startup. You're around people with different cultural background but working for the same goal. You'll get to maximize your speed of learning from them. There will be a lot of ups and downs. You'll build the can do attitude. I can do whatever it is, I can definitely do. That attitude is something that you're going to build along the tenure at your in any startup. You can learn even more if the startup is completely and horribly failing. I have worked for projects which have been dissolved completely. During pandemic, I was working for IDFC bank projects. Then pandemic happened, IDFC stopped funding us. We had to dissolve the project. All of them had to leave the project, find projects on their own. If they had some connections, networks within the same organization, they were mapped to different projects. People who couldn't find left the company. It's like that. Good and bad happens in a startup. Stability is not there. So projects dissolve. You have to find your own way, but you'll definitely build the can do attitude. And when you have the learning and the attitude for yourself, uh, you'll find your next opportunity very soon. Personally, as per my designation, I'm a lead QA, but I have worked more for the internal success of the company as well. Though I am in tech role, I since I post graduated in general management, and there is enough visibility in startups. The number of people are very less. CTO, CEO, the company boss knows you personally, and you know them personally, so they know your positives and weakness like you know theirs. So my boss, my company's CTO gave me a underdog work, so I was working on employee retaining. So in a particular team, there were people who were leaving within a year before completing 1 year. So they gave me a task to talk to them to figure out what is the reason, what is that happening in one particular team, why are people leaving, is there something that is happening wrong in the team, or there should definitely be some reason mapped to that issue. So I was assigned the task to find the root cause analysis and figure out the solutions for that. I did that. So it's not just sticking to your job roles. You have to do multiple things because that's also your duties. When you bring in right people, that's when you will be able to scale up in startups. While we choose to work for startups, we have to also know what will let us survive in the startup. So I'm sharing few startup survival guides. See, any startup will definitely be in a level of urgency. They want to execute the plan no matter what. Because if they don't do it now, someone else is going to do. So all the startups will have a hyper growth phase. So you will have a JD, job description, when you're joining the company. But in reality, you'll not stick just to the JD. You will do anything that the product wants, anything that the company wants, anything that the team wants. You have to be very flexible. Your work may not be the same as what you were recruited for, and you will not have a particular roadmap. Nobody will tell you, you work on this project for 2 years, 2 years you will become a senior, and then you will become a lead, and then you that's your career transition. But nobody will tell that's not going to happen same for everyone. If few people are joining at the same time, not everyone's transition will be the same. There is no roadmap. It will there will be dilemma, there will be overwhelming situations and confusing times. But along all this, while we travel, the exposure that we get will be breadth enough for us to explore our own positives and our own growth. There is a saying, rough seas make stronger sailors. So there is cause. When we know it, we have to find the right opportunities in that. The environment will be a high pressure one and highly competitive. There are people who have been burnt out, who say there is no work-life balance, who have lost their emotional balance. One has to know how well one should balance their emotional well-being and work. Sustainability is the key. I'm giving a pass here. Is there anyone who is not following the presentation? Should I come back? Or can I continue?
Yes, Sharma.
Okay. Okay. Give away your own Legos. So Legos are something small, small blocks using which we will be able to build structures, build toys. So that's basically a small size miniature toys using which we'll be able to build. So that's the same in a startup. You get to build something, but while startup is scaling, when people are more when people are joining you, when you want to see the transition, the thing that you build, the building that you built will be with someone else. But you should not have any feeling while you're giving your work to someone else, because in the generous giving of yourselves you grow. You'll get to have so much ownership on things that's being done. You'll own it because there is no one who told you what to do. You're doing it on your own. You're doing it on your own learning. You're doing it by grasping things from others' mistakes as well. So you have the ownership. You have the end-to-end authority of things. Okay. And while you work in startup, I personally have seen really talented and cross-functional colleagues. You always will get a feeling that you're just the average, or there are people who are always better than you. That's actually good because you get to learn from them. We have to be open enough to share our knowledge, give away your role. So you have done a piece of work and you want to do something else, so there should be someone who is maintaining the piece of work that you did. So you should be open enough to give away your role and move to a different one. So many roles, you'll get to do so many things, but your job designation will tell you're a lead, you're a lead QA, you're a lead developer, something. But that will not define who you are. You'll get to do a lot of things. If even if it doesn't, you have to find it and do. I have a manager in my current organization. He was there from the day one of the organization. He once told, he was while he joined as a fresher, he said he was the one who used to answer phone calls in the company, and if someone asks for printout of reports, he was the one who did it. He is currently a VP now, so he has grown all his way up from the boy who answers phone call to a VP now. So that's the transition a startup would give. What we should not be doing is, if we would have been a closely knit startup, we would have been 4 or 5 friends working for it, 10 people, then we would have grown to 50, 100,000. So while the company is also transitioning from smaller number to bigger numbers, it will not look the same. It will definitely have differences. The initial tight knit feeling will be lost. Initially there will not be much process. If you want to take leave, you'll just take leave and you'll come back in the evening and finish the work that you hadn't been able to do. But while we scale up, we will have lot of processes. You will have to ask for leave, you have to apply leaves, and only when they permit you'll be able to take. So these are some things that startups will adopt when they have certain number of peoples. So these are the processes we should adapt ourselves also into, because that's the growth. When more people come, process also comes, and mentally we should be ready to accept. We should not tell I was the one who was there when it was 5 people. Now you cannot tell me to do all this. I'm not going to bring ID card. So you cannot tell anything. When the company is growing, when the process is established, you have to also accept it and adapt it. So that's called rocket ship phase of the startup. So that's when the career transition for everyone will happen. So they would have been individual contributors, while a lot of people come in, lot of processes come in. You will become both people and project manager. You'll get to see the rocket ship phase both for the company and for the people. Okay. Oh, while this is another side, let's see what kind of mindsets should one have while working for startup or while trying to move into a startup. So startup mindsets, let's see. See, we have to always learn from mistakes. We should also be aware that nobody will let you make, nobody will tolerate when you make the same mistake twice. I have worked with people who are very intolerant in nature because they have invested their time, money, their aim, everything into the company. So you directly work with the boss of the company, the person who had the idea of it. So when you make a mistake, they'll be very they cannot tolerate it. So you're not allowed to make the same mistake twice. It's definitely not something that people will encourage. They'll warn you. I have also been in such situations. While if we make some mistake, they'll ask us, they'll point us, they'll ask us how it was missed, why it was missed, because it's very intolerant society. In the mindsets section, we have four things. One is ideation, next is logic, emotions, and planning. See, ideation, you should be full of ideas. You should treat yourself like an experiment. You have to try in different things. You have to bring new things. You have to try new ways of testing it, new ways of building it, new ways of scaling it. You have to always try. You have to figure out what works best for your product, what works best for you. So you should be full of ideas. You cannot sit back without learning. You cannot stick to older ideas. See, anything that's not innovated is dead. So you have to keep innovating. You have to keep experimenting. You have to have the logic of what is the product. See, it's not what people present it to you. They tell this is going to do this, this is that, but what you understand from that, what you see from the product, that's more important. And you should genuinely believe in it. Only when you genuinely believe in the product, you'll be able to contribute to its success. And since you're in direct contact with leaders, you must ask yourself, do you respect and believe the leaders? Do you respect and believe the leaders whom you work with? At the end of the day, you're going to adapt their skills. You see them managing the product, managing you, so you get to learn from them. So you have to find managers, you have to find people who you can respect and who you can believe as a leader. Okay. uh, on the emotional front, volatility will definitely not help. You have to normalize yourself. When something is going wrong, we shouldn't take it personally. That's about the product. Everyone should stick to the product, should stick to bringing the best out of it. We cannot take it personal, we cannot get hurt. So we have to normalize, we have to be stable emotionally as well. Most companies may not have what's next. They may not know what will be the next. You will have to embrace the ambiguity. You'll not know what will be the next. See, if you get funding, if you get investors, you'll grow. If you don't get funding, companies may not be able to pay you. I have also had pay cuts during pandemic, but but you have to embrace the ambiguity. That's when you grow. When the path is very clear, then anybody will do it. Only when it is tough, uh, we will get to do it, right? So when it is tough, only the competition will be less and you'll be able to excel in it. So you have to embrace that ambiguity, and you have to go wide, just beyond your job role, to see uh, and you also will get the provision to choosing your own trajectory. In the tech industry, it is a fact that the ratio of men and women are not the same. If you see, I would say in my company, women is to men ratio would be 1:5. There are more men than women. Uh, See, my team, the current team that I'm working in, has one manager, four tech leads, and 20 juniors, out of which only one lead is a woman. And the funnel is so narrow. As you go, there are some managers. See, if you see, this manager is my manager. Other 4 5 managers, all are men. CTO is a man, CFO is a man. Everyone, most of them, towards uh, the funnel is narrow. Towards the top, the funnel is really narrow, but it will change. The change has come, it has begun. Now there are women entrepreneurs, more than what it was in last decade. So the change has begun. It will take time. We have to bring the right change. It is also believed that women earn less than men, even in tech, and I truly resonate that feeling. That's true. That's the truth. But we have to work. If we have to check if we can change it. I have a video that I'll present, which is going to talk about women in tech, and how women are going to encourage other women in tech. How are they welcoming? So here is a video. I'm playing this for you.
I would say my one advice to women who want to enter the world of tech is don't be scared. There's so much you can accomplish and so much to learn, but you can do it.
There's so many different roles in technology. It's fine you don't know what it is that you want to do, but I recommend going to networking events, speak to people who work in the industry, find out about the different roles and where you could imagine yourself to be.
My main advice for women wanting to go into the tech industry is realizing that there's a lot of other women out there they could be speaking to finding out more about it. So if you go to an event, it's not all going to be these scary Google execs who have like 40 years experience. And most people are more than happy to spend their time explaining to you what they do and maybe meeting for a coffee or a drink to kind of give you more context, because it's a very supportive community, especially in London.
The industry changes so fast anyway. Everybody's always learning. It's continuous learning in the tech industry. So as long as you've got that aptitude to learn, you're curious, you like solving problems, then it's a fantastic industry to work in.
Just do it, even if it's really intimidating.
I guess the way I think about it, having worked in a technical team where there were 2 women out of 15, is that it's very important to have women in these areas, but it's also somewhat intimidating. I would like to be the change that I want to see in this area. Sometimes that requires a leap of faith.
Companies are really wanting women to join, and there's a lot of opportunities out there at the moment. Don't be scared. There's definitely a role for women in tech, and it's sorely needed.
If you're not too sure about coding, that's fine. There are lots of events, especially if you live in London, where you can code free, such as CodeBar. They welcome women. They want to encourage women to get into coding. It's a good starting point because they have coaches, and it's a good networking opportunity. So I highly recommend it because I've done it myself.
And there's so many different avenues that you can go off down. The opportunities are endless.
The more of us will start doing it, and the more of us will follow.
You would have understood it, but I would also like to reiterate on few things that was discussed in this video. So they were telling we have to find the right networking events. We have to go meet more people, understand what is happening, and see what is something that we can share, what is something we can learn. And also you have to find your calling. The tech side of the startup industry has many roles. What is something that you want to do? What is something that you want to do, and what is something that you can do? You have to find your calling. And it was also mentioned that there's always the learning in the tech industry. You have to continuously learn. There is no end to education. Be the change you want to see. See, the more of us start doing it, the more of us will follow. While we discussed many things, we should also see how can fresh graduates from engineering college find their way into startups. Let's hear from some startup founders. Like I have a video clip from the founder of Meesho, Razorpay. Let's hear to them. Let's see what they want for any graduate. I'm playing this video.
What are some of India's top startups looking for in fresh graduates when hiring? I asked 3 founders from LinkedIn top startups, and here's what they had to say.
I think I'll start with the fact we started a company in e-commerce, and I had never done e-commerce before, and Sanjeev, my co-founder, had never done e-commerce before, right? So if we start to care about experience as much, then we are being hypocritical. To us, experience is not so important, right? And I don't think it will ever be important. We have never thought about getting people who've done this before so they come and do the same thing here. We create disproportionate value because we create innovative products, we create like innovative segments, and that happens when you have people who don't care about experience, people who just solve very hard problems from first principles. So I think that's what we care about.
So a lot of us in our, for example, content team and our feed ranking team are actually people who have never done that before, have now scaled up and probably at a very, very competitive world-class level. So I think for us, it was also a necessity. And we also learned that you can actually focus on the intrinsics, bet on a person, and then magic can happen. To everyone out there who's probably not having that high pedigree college in their resume, the good news is that the talent market is really hot, and all of us don't care about colleges. You can please apply, and then we'll be more than happy to have you if you cross the standard process, right? Coding rounds, interview rounds. We don't care about your college. So it's a standard process. If you clear that, we're happy to have you in our company.
Forget just like the basic college degree. We have hired people who haven't coded ever in their life and just started coding last 3 months. So there are coding boot camps these days that people have joined in, learned something in last 3 months on how to code on the job and got hired at Razorpay. Right? So we have structured our interview process to that extent that people don't need to have a college degree at all. They don't have to have coded for last 10, 15 years. They were coded in last 3 months, learned basic coding that can work for the job and apply for Razorpay and go through those rounds.
Hope I've done justice to the webinar. So here is my favorite quote from Mark Zuckerberg. The biggest risk is not taking any risk. So startups are risk, but I think people should go for it. If you would like to connect with me, you can search Sharmila D. Tekion. I'm on LinkedIn. Do we have any questions?
Sharmila?
Yes, ma'am.
Very well summarized.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one question. You made a statement during your presentation that it is true that women in tech are being paid less when compared to their male counterparts.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you mean that only with respect to startups, or it's an overall statement?
I would say I have worked in startups, and so I am telling this on a startup perspective. I see men getting promotions more frequently than their women counterparts.
Okay. Okay.
So
okay.
The general, I mean, if a task is given, men generally finish it in the same day. They can extend. Women, in most cases, they may not be able to extend post 7 p.m. 8 p.m. It could be it could not be the same case with everyone, but startups rely more on men, but the ratio is ratio for men is to women. Men are on the higher side, but things are changing. That's what I would say.
Okay. Thanks, Sharmila. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I am open for other questions as well. Do we have someone with question?
Yes, ma'am. It was a great talk. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So your first company was it a startup? Like from the first company, it was a startup for you?
My first company was through placement. So that was not an MNC. That was again a bootstrapped company, but it was 20-year-old.
Okay. So you literally found, see, though you have worked with both the companies, you from the administration point of view or probably a job assigning point of view, you found quite a lot of differences between a startup and this. Was it so?
I haven't worked for MNCs. All the 3 companies that I worked had only one office. They were all small. So while I have had discussions with my friends, many of my friends hadn't had the exposure of getting to the products in depth detail like I had the opportunity. So I have also done product documentation. I am into tech. I needn't have done the documentation. Like I prepared the user guide for my first product. So that is something content team will be doing. Since we didn't have a content team and I was comfortable doing it, I got the chance of doing it. So with respect to your roles and responsibilities, you'll have wide exposure, wide opportunities in startups. In MNCs, they'll only stick to their work. Some task will be assigned to them. They'll come, they'll finish it off, go. But here you have to own, you have to tell what you will be doing, what is something you want to finish today, what is something you want to take up for the rest of the week. You will get to own things, you will get to summarize it for the team. So that's how it has been for me.
Obviously, freedom of thought would be higher on a startup. See,
Yes.
your thoughts would be valued much better.
Yes. And you also have the visibility because there are only few people. They know it by your name. They know it from where you are. They know your positives. They know your negatives. So it's like that. I know my boss personally as well. So we have interacted. It's like that, one-on-one.
Sharmila ma'am, I do have a question. Like already you answered it to Vasan, but still, students joined the startup because I remember 4 5 years back, Byju's was in the run and it was a startup then. And a couple of students from SREs also joined that. Then Byju's was very small actually, and now it has grown very big. But I asked one of the student who joined Byju's why you preferred Byju's, and he said that, sir, this is now a startup, and I will have a hands-on experience with all departments which Byju's is heading with. Which I actually put it in a nutshell, like already you have said now, you are into content writing, you are into documentation, you are into design and concepts like that. So that is one of the reasons why students actually prefer a startup. They learn a lot there. Is it true?
Yeah, definitely there is learning. There is no day without learning something. You get to learn technically, management side. See, very young, you'll become managers. You will be only 26, 27, but you'll have 2, 3 people reporting to you. Because if you have been there, you know the product and you have to guide the people who are joining newly. So that way you'll get to understand it. I mean, even if you don't know while you start as a manager, you'll make mistakes and you'll learn. You have the liberty to make mistakes in a startup because there is no proper guidance. There is no rules. There is nothing that's flowing from top. See, we have in management, we have two concepts in decision making. One is centralized decision making and one is decentralized decision making. So centralized is where the company will have VP, some 10 shareholders, 10 15 AVP, CEO, CTO, who will make the decisions, and that will go to managers, managers to leads, leads to juniors. So that is called centralized decision. The decision is made on top and it flows till down. See, in companies, in companies like ours, in startups, we make the decision because the product is controlled by us. We do it, so it's all decentralized. Um you get to do, and you have to convince them that this is what we are going to do, and you have the privilege of taking your own decisions, because there will be one boss, one manager, then 10 team leads, and 20-30 other juniors. So boss cannot, CEO, CTO, he cannot come till the depth of the product to see. He will be interested more in bringing more fundings to the company. So he will not show interest in what tool you're using, what you're doing. The team has to decide. So that is decentralized architecture, they tell. So that is what is followed in all startups, most of the startups.
Sharmila, I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you recruit freshers to your organization,
yes,
you
ma'am,
follow a direct offer process, or you offer them internship based on their performance, you convert that into a job offer?
We have many dimensions to it, ma'am. So sometimes some of us are in very close contact with CEOs, CTOs, and since I personally work for 14-16 hours every day, so my manager says, okay, if you know someone and you want them to you know someone personally, you are comfortable with, you want to share your job with them, train someone to our team, hire them and train them, and assign some of your tasks. So they give the complete authority to us in particular team or stream. So that is one case. And in the standard process shall be, they'll provide internship, and post which they have to prove themselves for 3-4 months probation period, and then they'll be confirmed. Most of them will be confirmed because interviews itself will be very stringent, very tough. So it'll be very challenging. You have to be very dedicated. We'll analyze people based on their technical skills, how their learning attitude is, if they have the real aspiration to be a leader. So we will recruit people who are better than us. We want someone from whom we can learn. So we'll find the right talents and bring them to probation period and take them. So that is also one way of doing it.
Thanks, Sharmila. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sharmila, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you tell about angel investor, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you briefly explain about angel investors. Who supports
Okay,
for
sir.
this angel investors?
Okay, sir. So angel, so angel means someone who is going to bless you, who is going to shower you with blessings for the first time. So when you have an idea, when the company has an idea and it has bootstrapped till that step, so the company funder with his own money or with his bank loan, he would have taken the company from 1% to 10% max, or 100%, or to some extent he would have taken. His idea wouldn't have been approved by others. So that's when the first person, first investor who is trusting in the idea, who is trying to scale the company up, is called the angel investor. There are many companies who are investing in startups in which they believe in. There are also some people who are trusting in smaller startups and who are doing it. What in general angel investors will do is they will invest, and within 7 years they will take their money out of the company. So the company has to scale and should make the best out of their investment within that 7 years. Along their in the 7 years, when the company is doing really good, they will go for funding rounds. That's called seed funding. So Series A funding, Series B funding. So in fundings where companies will get $1 billion, $2 billion, like that. So when a company is getting $1 billion in USD, that's when the company will be called unicorn. If we see in 2000s, 2001, 2, 3 and all, till 2010 also, for every year we had only 1 or 2 unicorns coming in India. But now in 2019 alone, we had 7-8 unicorns. In 2020, 2021, we have many unicorns in India now. We are the fastest growing unicorn country. And Freshworks, Indian Freshworks is listed in NASDAQ USA. So they are also a unicorn startup. They are listing in US. There are companies, Indian startups, which will list in NSE, National Stock Exchange, NSE itself. So first investors are called angel investors. Further, it is called funding. And then they will go into IPOs, or the initial public offering. That's when the company will be changing from private limited company to public company when people get to invest in that. So this is the trajectory of it.
Okay. Okay, Sarmala. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, I have one more thing. Like,
yes, sir.
You said like it's on a startup. It's easy to go up the ladder. Like you'll soon become a manager or to some higher post. Like when you move out from a startup. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes,
hello?
Sir.
Yeah. When you move out from a startup to a MNC or a slightly bigger company, do they really value your position and your how do you look at how do they look at you?
I mean, I am not sure about moving into an MNC, but I think, sir, I'm not really sure.
Do they really
into MNC? I'm not sure.
No. Do they really value your experience? So that's what my question was.
Anybody will look for, if they are hiring someone, they will look for skill sets. So if it's a tech startup, they look for your tech skill sets. If you have it, you will get that. I mean, they will not see what you have done previously. They'll see if you have the skill set to excel in the upcoming job. It can be something you learned, or it can be something you acquired. It's like that. They'll see what you can contribute to them. They'll not see what you have contributed to them already.
Okay.
Tech industry, it's all about how well you perform in the initial period, and initially in the interviews, and then in the initial probation period.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. See, even if you have done extremely well in a company and you have skill sets which is irrelevant for the next company will definitely not hire you. You have to also keep yourself updated. You have to also see what is the current trend in the market, what are the skill sets that we should indulge ourselves in, what are something that we can do. So if someone has to hire us, we have to prove them that we are a good fit to their organization. So that is something we should show them.
Okay.
Hello. Good evening, ma'am. This is Tirukur from E&A department.
Yes, sir.
So as well as I'm the director of Texo Solutions Private Limited, a startup inside our campus.
Okay, sir.
So we, myself along with the students, we started a startup. You might have heard about it, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Srinivasan sir is to share photos. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. So I'm having one question, ma'am. Actually, the students they are having a lot of ideas to proceed with the startup, and then they are having multiple innovations with them, but they are struggling to involve them in the startups, ma'am, because of that salary constraints. So initially, the startups couldn't pay off CTC of some 4 lakhs or 5 lakhs. So as a senior person, can you suggest some of the inputs for them? So how they can balance that kind of problems?
Okay, so I will try answering this. I may not be the right person, but I'll try. Sir, even if they have great ideas, they should have done the simulation of it. They should have a working output for it. Only then people will accept it. See, anybody will have an idea. Having an idea is equal to having no idea. So you have to implement the idea. You have to bring in a simulation. See, if it's something related to uh, mechanical or something, you have to bring in you have to prove, you have to tell this is why we have done this. So we have to have the right output. We have to show, and that's when the companies will also start accepting you. They will also have many students, many people who are approaching them, telling they have an idea. So just having an idea, I think the time has changed. We have to show them the output. We have to show them, we have to convince them with our output. I'm not sure if I have answered.
I agree with you, ma'am. That
Yes,
you
sir.
have answered, ma'am. But I have one more question with this. So initially, the startup cannot pay some CTC of 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs for a student, right?
Yes,
so
yes, sir.
for those kind of, but they have the startup seems that the students is having good ideas and then he's working well means. So how we can balance them, or how we can hold them in our company? Hope you can get me.
At least for initial 5-6 years in the career, we should not be salary constrained. We should not think what we can get from the company in terms of money. We have to see what we can get from them in terms of knowledge. That's anybody who, I mean, I've seen people who started with 6,000, 7,000, and then they have gone multi-folds. Many of my classmates, my friends from other departments have all started up like that. I have also started initially like that. So in terms of salary, yes, sometimes we will have to adjust, because the company is also trusting you, giving you the platform which many people do not get. Not all are being employed. So if you are being employed, that is itself a big opportunity. And please motivate students to think beyond the salary, sir. That is what I would say to my juniors as well. Money, when hard work is with you, definitely some company will hire you for any number that you ask for in future. So please make them deprioritize salary on the first hand.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, please.
I'm a student, ma'am. I'm a student. So I have a doubt that whether it is compulsory to have a MBA degree or an entrepreneur course certificate to start a startup.
To start a startup or to work in a startup?
Is to start a startup, it is compulsory to get a MBA certificate, or I have to complete a entrepreneurship course so that it would help me.
There are people, see, do you know Zerodha? Zerodha is India's very good startup. They are on trading, if you have heard. So the founders of it do not have a degree. They were college dropouts. See, we have heard this, right? There are many people who do not have college degree. But see, even in the video that I shared, Razorpay CEO was telling he hired many people who didn't have degree. I think many companies, including Google, they are not focusing on degree. They are focusing on what value you can bring. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you may not need the MBA degree. You do see, MBA is nothing but if there is some skill sets that you acquire by being in the business, by being there for a while, all that tricks, all the fundas of the business will be taught to you in the 1.5 2 year period. So taking that up and not taking that up is up to you, but nobody has told that you should have this degree to do that. Basic degree should be enough.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Answering to Immaculate again, but my MBA has helped me in my career. It has helped me understand more of financing terms, more of share stocks related to my company. My MBA has helped me, but that is not a limitation to people who do not have it. It's a good to have thing. I really enjoyed this question. Do we have any other questions?
One last question, Sharmila.
Yes,
I hope, you answered this, but still, see, to grow higher in the ladder, first get
Yes,
into an MNC, then work for 5-10 years to achieve a position, or to get into a startup immediately, learn full working environment, then easily get into a manager level. Which one is better and which one is happening in reality?
okay, sir. In both the times you mentioned the word easily, but easily is something which is not there in the dictionary at all. Okay, so in
Okay.
MNCs, if you take you will have to struggle because there are a lot of people. You have to prove yourself because there will be 100 juniors. Uh, uh, you have to be promoted and become a manager, and there will be only one manager for the team of 100 members, right? So you have to prove yourself that. So in both these cases, nothing comes out easily. In startups, it will be tough, but because you get to learn a lot. See, in the initial time itself, we get to learn a lot of things. When people talk about something, we know it already. We have done it already. So I think being in a startup is on the positive side because you have given your time, energy, years together to build the startup. So the founders recognize you. They know you have worked for it. So that's yours basically. You're one of the few people who were there from the time it started up, right? So it's like 4 people are doing it, then 5 friends join, then 100 others join, but still that 4 people and 4 friends and 5 people who join will be the important people, right? So it's like that. Startups are on the positive side, but in both the places, it's not going to be easy.
Fine, fine, very well answered. Thank you, Sharmila.
Thank you, sir.
So audience, if you have no other questions, Sharmila, Vasant, and Dr. Srinivasan sir, shall we go for the closing remarks?
Yes, sir, we can go to.
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Sharmila. That was Sharmila from batch 2016 E&I. Thank you so much for making this evening a memorable one with a beautifully narrated presentation on ecosystem, startup ecosystem. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Department of Electronics and Instrumentation, Dr. Srinivasan sir, and Rukmani ma'am for roping in Sharmila for this webinar talk number 70. Thank you, audience from all over the globe, and the student friends and faculty members for joining us today. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.